Hey, I'm Native Mammoth Press, and I am once again joined by my buddy Mike Huff, guitarist of Mortal Review, and fellow Twitch streamer Metal Mini Moose, and together we're going to take on Metal Slug. It's kind of poetic how we have the Metal Mini Moose versus the Metal Slug.
So,
And that entertains me,
I'm
clearly.
I'm not gonna do well.
That's
I
all right.
like Metal Slug. That doesn't mean I'm good at it.
Good news. Quarters are on me.
Alrighty.
All right, so I mapped the buttons. Okay, so it looks like I did it right.
Okay.
So it should be A, B, and C.
Bottoms.
Yep.
A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what's up. So far, so
And
good.
B is jump, and C is grenades.
Okay. Okay, we're jumping right into. Alright. Can't shoot the birds. Good. Alright.
Yeah, you can
You
shoot
know
it.
You?
I don't know what proper etiquette is anymore for, like, you know, power-ups. I know typically health is like, oh, hey, you're lower than me. But then people still take them anyways, you know?
I guess to me it just depends. Like, I normally give my guess first dibs.
Yeah. All I'm saying is don't be ashamed to just take things if it's there. I'll get there eventually. I know people who just respawn with full health take the pizza and Ninja Turtle. Oh yeah, dude. Bitch.
Oh shit. There's like, this is so wild because there's no diagonal.
Yeah, that was a thing that they brought in eventually, though, isn't it?
It is.
I noticed that too. I thought,
Oh, shit.
I mean, it's an 8-way directional stick. I don't.
Alright. I don't even know. You can get the.
Oh, I love how they still incorporate the sprites and the reflections in the
Oh
water.
wow,
Isn't that cool? To add so much depth to it. Never mind the lake that we're in or the river that we're in.
Right.
Doesn't
The water
you know.
effects. Just the reflection.
Only so much RAM, Mike.
There we go. Take them all down at once. That was awesome.
It's one of these. Oh yeah, it's one of these games that I would absolutely love if I was better at it. You know, without the pay-to-win aspect of arcades.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on? Oh shit.
You jump in.
Go for it. Can you?
Well, I think that was yeah.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on here? Okay, I can shoot. Oh,
You
Oh, that's-
and then you have your C button has a rocket.
okay. So confused. Okay, so
I think your C button has a rocket. Look out. Yeah, hit that explosive barrel.
I'm trying to figure out how to aim the cannon. It's so awkward.
Yeah. Oh, jump out! Oh, you did. Okay.
I think I'm okay.
Yeah, you're at the other side of the screen. I'm like yelling at this at a tank about to blow up. Get out! You're behind me. Oh, that guy was just having his lunch too. I don't think that.
Think about it, grenades. Okay. Okay. Maybe swing right into that.
Thank you. Here's my underwear. Eesh.
Get out of there, bud. We're gonna save you. You too, buddy. Get on there.
Get out of here, hippie.
Oh shit, I got a rocket launcher. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yes. Oh.
Block
I
rocket
don't know
over
what it
here,
is,
too.
but I just like viewed enough games, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you,
Like top down, side scrolling, I don't care, I guess.
I got that. Oh, I already got 10th. How about that?
Okay.
That might mean they took me out of the game entirely.
Let's go. I'm assuming it's okay. Alright. KFC private first class, I'm assuming. Huh. Yeah, so I've never actually played this entire series through. I've like just played bits and pieces of, you know, being at like Cece's Pizza or something.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
like,
Yep, same here. Tantera, maybe.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
They had this, and they had Shock Troopers, a kind of above view.
Yes, I don't remember that one.
It was very similar. It was pretty cool. I had a lot of fun with it. It's on here too.
Oh shit. Nope, don't do that. I guess you could crawl.
Look at it.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Oh shit, same. Alright, what? Go for it. Oh, damn. Shooting from above. Continue.
Can you imagine being a guy with a parachute? Like, oh yeah, we're gonna sneak in very slowly and obviously. Oh, that guy's got fire. Like, I'm in the worst position to be met with fire.
That's kind of like, that reminds me of Eddie Izzard and the whole, you remember that bit?
No.
Eddie Izzard had this bit about, I think it was like the first trans paramilitary guard or something. I can't remember exactly the joke itself, but there's this whole thing. It's like, could you imagine if, you know, there was a troop of trans people trying to jump in, and it's like, oh, were you supposed? Yeah, I suppose. Something along the effect. It was like, how could you like sneak in and be all like, being that wonderful and fantastic, basically. Come on, kill that boat. Getting downs. I like how they're all women screams.
The what?
Like all the screams.
Right. It's the same sound bit over and over, and I imagine it would get old pretty quick if you weren't playing.
Come on.
Like if you had to watch somebody play this game, I bet because actually while you were on your way here, I was listening to just it run on its own, and yeah, it was kind of like, man, did they have only one scream?
Man, that knife animation is brutal.
Yeah, I know. It's almost like the Call of Duty equivalent, you know, it's whip. It's like,
Damn!
tag.
Damn.
Even guys with shields.
Just
It cuts through anyone with like any armor or shield. Like if you get that close, they give it to you.
there we go. Is that spread? Oh yeah, that's a shotgun. There we go.
No, so yeah,
kind of a
technically,
spread.
yeah.
Yeah, kind of a spread. There we go. Damn, dude, they like just explode too. Like,
I mean, that's kind of. I mean, it's an over-exaggeration of real life, but there's truth to it.
jeez. Damn, Metal Slug.
You scared.
Damn,
Damn, Metal Slug, you edgy.
what year was this made? 1990 what?
I think it is the most like bloody of the at least the first three that I think the next two weren't as. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I remember even like what I had played was not the original one, but I don't remember them being as, because early on there's a moment where if you shoot the rope, there's this huge rock that's suspended that will fall on two guys, and we just killed them. But what's messed up is if you let that rock crush them, like you see their bones and stuff like sticking out of the pulp of like they got like they burst and there's like, you know, some skeleton in there.
Alright. Oh shit. Walk right into that. Excuse me.
And I don't know if there's multiple versions. I don't know if there's like multiple versions of this game, you know, like the arcade versus console version.
Yeah, I mean, they probably got dumbed down a little bit, or like edged less or whatever. Like less blood and violence on the ports, since, you know, it's a second.
Well, yeah, that was, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was cool. Like a good little loop-de-loop.
Yeah. That was cool, little loop.
Hey, gas.
Yes.
There you go.
So,
Give you a little relief.
so being the guitarist of metal bands, like two that I know of, were there before? Is it? Am I right so far? Is there two metal projects that you've been major like?
Like three, I guess.
Three. Okay.
So Break the Barrier.
Okay.
And then A Hero's Formula, and what do we do? A Hero's Formula, or no, sorry, not A Hero's Formula. Break the Barriers. Break the Barriers. I don't know even how to explain that. Yes, I was a founding member. Yes, I wrote a bunch of stuff with that band. But once I left the band, they did their own thing and succeeded more.
I see.
So. I'm out. Alright, back in it. So yeah, three primarily. I've played in a bunch of other quote-unquote
Right,
bands.
you've had a handful of other things you were involved in. But
Right.
I was curious if there was. I just knew of a Hero's Formula and the current Mortal Review.
Right. So, again, yeah, Break the Barrier was pretty much all the members of a Hero's Formula, and
Okay.
like, it was just a combination of everything. So, Break the Barrier was me, Chris Holiday, originally our drummer David Franklin, and our buddy Thomas Williams who playing bass. And then we had this guy named Jesse Seymour who came out of Rolla, and he would drive to Springfield all the time to practice with us. And yeah, Jesse was a badass. So
That's all right. I was set up in Walnut Grove. Everybody came to me, and that was, you know. But when you got space, I guess.
yeah, Chris had his attic space. That's where we were all checked up. But so what happened with Break the Barrier was I was on paper, and it was very difficult to have a band and be on paper at the same time.
I see.
And it was just a mutual understanding. Me and Chris sat down and talked about it, and I think at the end of the day, it was the best decision at the time.
I see.
For them and me. And then years went by, I finally got off paper, I went to college, did a bunch of other stuff. And Thomas had moved away, so Thomas had also left Break the Barrier, and they had They got a different drummer, they got a different bass player, it was one guitar player instead of two guitar players, but Jesse and Chris stuck around and they replaced me, or they didn't even replace me, they replaced the drummer and the bass player.
So they went through multiple transformations.
Yeah, they went through a few transformations, and again, like a lot of the work they did, a lot of their success was after Thomas and I had left the band, which, you know, was awesome.
What I mean, and that's just where when you go through major changes and, you know, go through shifts, you have those opportunities to kind of rethink the direction you're going.
Right.
And it could be just simply.
But they did.
Do you feel that it was them just reassessing what they were doing and going a different approach and taking advantage of the opportunity, or do you? I mean.
No, I honestly think there was a lot of it going on with me personally. Again, I was on paper. That being on paper, they didn't want me leaving town. They didn't want me leaving, you know, the state or anything else. Mm-hmm. Wasn't allowed to go to bars because of, you know. I don't know. Did we get
Yeah, I don't know. Can we make the jump? Oh, look at that.
Oh, shit.
So you throw your grenade. I'm glad you made it, buddy. Grenade.
Keep going. I'll catch up in a sec. No, I'll bring myself back in here. Like, yeah, there we go. Let's get up a couple frames. There we go. So anyway, no, like, admittedly, a lot of it was me at the time. Like, there was just more on my mind than playing in a band, and it was obvious to the band, and again, just for the better. So I'm gonna hit this button and bring it
and
up.
then I'll shoot it.
Back. Teamwork.
Well, it's good that, you know, in hindsight, you're able to recognize it and see for what it is. And
that's exactly what it is, man. It's just like, all right, at the time, shit was going down, and I had to take care of my shit. That was the truth.
yeah.
So, and again, you know, a lot of us from that band are still, you know, we talk today, we're still all buddies and hang out and shit, and there's really no issues there. So what happened was me and Thomas went our separate ways, did our separate things. I eventually got off paper. I went to college and focused on that for a couple years. And Thomas had left the state with his girlfriend at the time. They went to Tennessee. He went to like Memphis. He went to St. Louis. So he did some traveling. Well, some time had passed. Thomas eventually came back to Springfield. What's up? Yeah, those guys are not backing out. So anyway, Thomas came back to Springfield. At the time, I wasn't doing any music, really. I was just, I don't know, living life. That was about the time my daughter was born.
Oh, right on.
So me and Thomas got together, and we started kind of writing some demo stuff. And we had like 2 songs, I believe it was, just messing around for a couple months. And then Chris Holiday, the other guitar player for Heroes Formula.
Okay.
So Chris Holiday and Josh Harden, the drummer for Break the Barrier. Break the Barrier had split. There was a little bit of time between that split where Chris and Josh were working on stuff separately by themselves. Jeez, this is difficult. All right, timing. Nope. I'll just take that invincibility.
Can't touch me!
So anyway, so Chris and Josh were working on stuff separately. Me and Thomas were working on stuff separately. And I reached out to Chris. We were hanging out and just, you know, BSing. And I was like, well, let's mess around and see what happens. Well, after 2 or 3 practices, a Heroes Formula happened. That's how a Heroes Formula happened.
It kind of just fell into place.
Yeah, so it was some old members of Break the Barrier. We had already had experience playing with each other in the past, but we switched up our old drummer, Chris Gill, from Break the Barrier. So we switched up Chris Gill for Josh, basically. So
okay.
And we were having difficulty with singers. Not difficulty. Difficulty is not the right word. We were having a challenge with singers where we didn't know that we even wanted one.
Oh, okay. Well, sure, all right.
So
I mean, that's a pretty brave move, you know. But I, as a musician, I totally understand that too.
Right. So we had, we know tons of great vocalists, but it just kind of came down to, it's like, man, let's not even focus on it right now. Let's just literally focus on the music. And so it was, 4 guys that are literally all about songwriting, just focusing on that. And so it wasn't ever really like a whole thing of like, we gotta find a singer, we gotta find a singer, we gotta find a singer. It was, just, hey man, I got this cool riff. What kind of cool riff can you put on
exactly what it sounds like Gravetender was like. We didn't have a vocalist until we pretty much had our set written.
So I'd say what happened was, again, me and Thomas had like 2 songs that we had kind of written on the side. And then me and Thomas had 2 songs that we had written together. And then Josh and Chris also had 2 songs that they had written. And so right out of the gate, like first month of us all hanging out, we had like essentially 4 songs that we had, were working on separately. Then after we kind of taught each other, what was going on in those songs, we kind of formulated those. Then we kind of were like, well, let's write one all together, all 5.
Yeah.
So those 5 songs became our EP, like our debut EP thingy, which pretty much all we had. We had a couple other singles, but those were later. And now, Mortal Review is essentially the same numbers.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine. I've got the same. I've got my first two bands were virtually the same people, just different drummer.
So-
And I don't expect that to be the last project I do either. One of which actually does the music on the YouTube channel.
Well, there was a period there in a Heroes formula where we lost Thomas as our bass player. Thomas decided to leave for his own reasons, and after he left the band, we went, not very long, it was, I don't know, a couple months maybe or something like that, where we went without a bass player, and everything we were doing was with a backing track.
Okay.
And we played a show with that backing track, and that's where we met. Now my current bass player is Steven. So we played a show with that backing track, and he's like, hey, what's going on? You guys don't have a bass player? And we were like, nope. And he's like, cool, I'm a bass player.
Well, good for you. I just happen to be.
Pretty much. That was probably actually the best damn thing that happened to us at the time.
I love his bass. Like
His bass.
yeah, his Daisy. Like
I have a love-hate relationship with this Daisy bass. I really do.
it sounds good. I mean, did he record with it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds awesome.
It's a good sounding bass. I won't.
But leave it to a bass player to have that guitar. So I mean, it could be worse.
It's a joke. Sorry.
That's
excuse me. So. I can explain the bass story. I can tell you the bass story.
Please, yeah, all right.
Yeah, okay, so long story short, Steven meets us at this show. 2 weeks later, he comes to the warehouse where we practice, and he tries out. Guy comes in with a damn notepad. Every single song that we had written, he had figured out by ear, and he was just sitting there. He had all these notes for each of the songs. He came in and he killed it. Like, this first night, he already had everything just nailed.
Awesome.
And it was like, all right, buddy, yeah, if you're serious about this, then you're in. Let's do this. A few months go by. Steven comes in with this bass. Okay, sorry, again.
No, I mean...
It's a love-hate relationship with this bass. So Steven comes in and he's like, hey guys, look what I bought for like $100. And we're like, oh yeah, that's hilarious, man. We can bring that up on stage. It'll be a huge joke. Blah, blah, blah. Well...
Be careful what you wish for. I mean.
Yeah. So he falls in love with this bass, and he refuses to play anything else but this bass on stage. Me and Chris are like, color coordinated guitar.
I mean, people can expect that from a bass player. I saw the pictures, and I was like, well, I'll be damned. And
Yeah.
just left it at that. If it were you, I'd be like, all right, what's the angle here?
Right, there, yeah.
What are you trying to pull?
It's an obvious joke. Like, surely you would know that it's an obvious
I'm
joke.
glad it sounds so good. Did he do anything with the hardware? Did he?
No.
No?
Everything
Really?
is still whatever.
What did he play through?
He just put it, well, let me see. I think before, I can't remember what kind of head he played through. He has a Hartkey 4x10, I believe it is.
Okay.
That's his cab setup, but I can't remember the head he was playing through. He recently switched his head to an Ashdown head, and it sounds bad as fuck.
Yeah.
Jesus, man, I'm dying left and right.
Yeah, I'm not really paying attention. I'm visualizing this. his gear.
But he does. He comes into the practice space with this bass, and we're all laughing. He plugs it in, and he's just like, ooh, I like it. And we're like, all right. So he plays with it, and we goof off. And like, I think the very first show we played afterwards, he used it. And
That's how you get endorsements.
it's a damn shame because Daisy Rock doesn't exist anymore.
That's right. You're right. As soon as I said it, I was like, did he? No,
Nope.
maybe.
Daisy Rock, as far as I'm aware, Daisy Rock is no longer a functioning band. I wanted to find some Daisy Rocks, but anyways.
So, it's a joke, and you're mad about it.
Well, like-
but you're like,
I'm like, man, I wonder if the guitars are cool. But anyway, Jesus. So yeah, the whole thing was he had this other, I believe he had it's a 4-string, it's like
Yeah.
a really badass guitar, or bass, but yeah, he swapped it out. I've never been able to get him to go back ever since. His whole excuse is his other bass is intonated for drop C. Fine, I understand you have intonation.
Yeah.
Different intonations.
yeah,
for different
I haven't. Mine is still also my guitar, and I'm almost afraid to go back to.
So, I mean, end of the day, I'm not going to bust his balls about it or anything like that, but you know, there are times where I still poke around, come on, dude, like I'm done with the Daisy bass. And then I plug it into, like, you know, our recording DAW and actually do stuff with it, and just like, man, this bass just sounds good.
And my bass has played a Geddy Lee signature, you know, Fender.
Here's what I've come to conclude with the Daisy bass. It has its purposes. Like, if you're trying to get like some really chuggy stuff, you're not going to get really chuggy stuff out of it. You're going to have to get a different bass.
But it cuts through really well.
But for what Steven does, he's a fingerstyle bass player.
Yeah.
He likes a smooth tone. He really likes a jazzy, warm tone. He's not really into like the clunky, percussive. That's not his style. So, again, it's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, he's not your traditional, like, you know, I follow the bass lines a lot, and as much as I listen to your stuff, like, dude knows what he's doing. I mean, it only makes sense that he's a math genius as well, and a math teacher, so.
Right. No, and Steven's full of shit. But yeah, end of the day, going back to the very first question, 3 bands total. And they've all basically just been bastard swapping, like, members left and right. Started off with Break the Barrier. Break the Barrier was me, Chris Holiday, Chris Gill, Jesse Seymour, and Thomas Williams. After Heroes Formula, it was me, Thomas Williams, Chris Holiday, and Josh Harmon. And then we lost Chris Holiday, and now Mortal Review is me, Josh Harden, Steven Singer, and our singer, Travis Fox.
Right.
Yes. Dude, you are familiar.
Yes. And before all these bands, you were actually, before you even picked up guitar, you were actually pretty well musically versed, like musically familiar.
I had,
and you discussed this before.
Yeah.
Depends on the detail you want to get into again.
No, it's cool. So I started, I'm currently 38. I'll be 39 at the end of this year. I've been playing music since I was 10. I started playing music in 5th grade with clarinet. After about 6 months of playing clarinet, my teachers were like, "You're really good at this, can you play saxophone instead?" And I said yes.
Yeah, who doesn't like all the ladies with the saxophone?
Exactly. It's a sexy instrument, you know?
I mean, like I said, I went in for saxophone, but I thought it was a brass instrument because it was very brassy. And then they're like, "Hey, no, you've got those big, beautiful lips. You would fit better and stay in brass. Here's a trombone because you've got the long reach and then beautiful lips."
Trombone.
I hated it because I couldn't do anything fast or solos. My grandma tried to convince me otherwise. She was like, "Here, listen to these records. This guy's playing trombone." I'm like, "Yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't care."
Well, after I played saxophone from the time I was 10 till the time I was 16. And it was about the time I was 16 when I tried out for a jazz band, and I was told that I was not good enough, and that I still had some work to do on the saxophone. Fair assessment, they probably weren't wrong.
I don't know. Some of that stuff is elitist shit that, you know, like, all right, whose parents bought their way in?
Or, you know, maybe, you know, I always do think about it.
But hey,
like,
you know what? You're sure, okay.
I try to take criticism, you know, the best I can. It's just like, you know what, maybe I could have studied up on my skills a little better. Maybe I could have, you know, this, that, or the other. Who knows?
Sure.
But
that's big of you.
You know, end of the day, I appreciate it. I don't know.
I mean,
there's sometimes
you imagine you saw immediately how cynical I got, and it's not even my story.
Right. I tried. It's like, you know what? Yeah, I could sit here and be butthurt about shit that happened 20 years ago, or I could be like, you know what? Maybe I didn't practice my skills hard enough. Maybe I couldn't just play that D flat, you know, scale right off the top of my head, or you know, whatever.
Sure. Okay. That's admirable.
So, again, I stopped playing saxophone when I was 16, but in that time period, I picked up a guitar when I was about 12. So I've been playing guitar specifically since I was 12 years old.
Okay.
And that was just, my buddy had a guitar, he brought it over one day, he taught me how to make a power chord.
Cool.
And once I learned how to make a power chord, then I was like, well, okay, this fret is F, this fret is, you know, F sharp, this is G. So I was able to map out the notes on the fretboard.
So you, from the beginning, were making connections to like the actual notes, like for the purpose of actually understanding music,
Right,
and,
exactly.
and reading music.
Well, yeah, exactly. So everything
Okay.
that I had learned off of the saxophone, I knew how to read a staff. So I'm like, okay, if I'm looking at
Very
this
cool.
staff, I've got 3 flats in this, key signature. My tempo is 120 beats per minute at 4/4 time signature. So I understood all of these theory.
That's good. That's cool. I was just like, okay, so this fret makes this note. This string on this fret makes this note. And I just kind of memorized, like I had a mental memory of when I listen to music, like, okay, it sounds like he's probably in this area.
Right.
Because I could just visualize it. So I never learned music. Except tablature. That's something else.
So I learned all that pretty early, like I said,
That's fantastic.
10 years old, and so I had a very thorough knowledge of like all of that stuff and how it worked, and like, okay, if this staff has a flat on, the G, then I'm going to play a flat every time a G pops up. That kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
And so what I did was I just took that knowledge from learning saxophone, applied it to guitar, and then after just fiddling around and learning Green Day and Nirvana by ear, I went and got guitar magazines, and then I started learning tab.
Yeah.
Now,
You remember a time though when they actually had both
yes.
music and then, but yeah, by the time I actually, like, the internet was just kind of becoming a thing
Right.
for
Everybody
people.
was using hashes and
Right,
numbers, right.
And so music, by the time I got into Guitar Magazine, they had just kind of went straight to tablature all the time. And I don't know which exact magazines it was. There's a handful of them. A lot of them I borrowed from... Guitar World was definitely one of them. Swadley actually was the one that kind of influenced me to pick up guitars. So all my friends, that's how the first band started. They knew what they were doing. They were like you, And I just wanted to be part of the cool kids. I wanted to be a part of something, so I wanted to learn guitar. And my parents, they were very supportive people. So I got, not the greatest guitar, but whenever I was learning and struggling, they were like, hey, you remember, how we're like really good at guitar? They didn't say it like this. This is just a joke. Like we wanna do that stuff like together, but we need a bass player. You interested? And I'm like,
Shit.
fuck no, I'm play guitar. I play bass. But they supplied my equipment for me, and like I said, I'm a sucker for being a part of things, so
Right.
I accepted.
You know what? Yeah.
And it turns out I'm actually a natural bass player, I think. Like, not like natural savant or anything. I'm just, like naturally it just makes sense to me. Like, bass is kind of my jam.
Got like more of a groove.
Yeah,
Like
and
it feels natural.
It does. You put a bass in my hands, and I don't know. I'm a finger player as well. I don't know. It just makes more sense to me.
All right.
So then we had the Tasty Gents after that. That was Daedalus Dolor, where we realized like the really deep rooting name. We
Right.
spend so much time explaining more than actually promoting.
Right.
And then Tasty Gents was the pendulum swinging a little too far the other way. We're like, nah, let's just have fun with it, guys. And then,
We're together.
but
For you, buddy. I saw you. Yeah.
and then I don't know. Later on,
Pigeons.
yeah, it was Morrison Nichols, the guy that owns Stick It in Your Ear, Wes Nichols.
Oh yeah, yeah.
His son was our drummer.
Oh,
we practiced.
nice. Yeah.
We practiced in their
I
basement.
totally remember Mo. Bless that dude. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's killing it too.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
he was he left for LA and did.
Didn't he do like Cher or something? Like something
Yeah,
like
he
that?
did also No Doubt.
Oh Jesus, man.
He
Yeah.
did. He was doing
Good old Mo.
sound work and engineering. I'm not exactly sure what he's doing now, but Wes, I guess, sold the store and
Yep.
moved to be with his kid.
Yep, that's what I heard.
Him and Max took off. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if Max went with him or not.
There is a way to jump down, and I love it.
Yeah, I know how to jump.
Is it double tap? Yeah, I guess it's double tap. No, I don't
Well,
know.
I don't know. I'm not even in the game.
Yeah, I think it's double tap down. That's oh shit. Now I'm out. I'm so confused. I don't know who I am. So where were we?
So you had a friend that gave you, well, let you borrow it, and I had my dad had a friend that played acoustic. He was
So yeah.
Spanish acoustic. So you had a friend that let you borrow, and
Right.
his. That's really cool.
So that was kind of what it was. I had this guy that I went to church with. His name was Matt. Old friend. I don't even talk to him anymore. It'd be crazy to even run into him now. I wouldn't even know. Anyway, but he would come by with his guitar, and he didn't necessarily let me borrow it per se. He would just like, he'd bring it over and, let me play it or whatever.
Okay.
But eventually, I got an acoustic. I got myself a used, Bentley acoustic, and I just killed my fingers learning.
Yeah.
So after, I don't even remember how long I had the Bentley, but eventually my grandparents were awesome, and they bought me an electric guitar for one of my Christmas presents, or birthday presents, one or the other.
Yeah.
So that was when I got I think I was 13 when I got my first electric guitar, or something like that. But yeah, once I got that electric guitar, it was over. I learned everything. I tried to do whatever I could. Oh shit, I'm actually shooting at planes and shit. Alright.
My parents, the first guitar I got was an acoustic because they took the advice of somebody who was very smart and said, get him an acoustic, let him break his fingers in, steel strings will,
Right.
And then the nut ended up breaking on it, and it got all warped and everything. And I probably could have fixed it, but I didn't know anything about it. I was a teenager, so I wanted an electric guitar for Christmas one year. And so they got me this little pin of a little black guitar. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cute. That's funny, guys. I see what you did there.
Right. I know exactly. I got one of those too.
Sure enough, though, Dad went out in the truck, which it was cold and actual snow on the ground, so it wasn't the best place to keep a guitar for. But he, a little old Samick, black on black Samick little thing with a little, PV, like a Rage 158.
Yeah, the PV Rages. We all had those too. Yeah.
I still got them downstairs, and they still work.
That's awesome.
And I still got the pin on my strap too. So,
I think I ended up selling mine to a buddy that was learning guitar. I was like, you know what? This is a great learner amp.
Sure.
It's not the greatest, but it'll do the job. It'll do what you need it to do.
I let my vocalist use it for his vocals for practice one time in his house, and one time he came back with it, and the screen was kicked in on it. He goes, "Sorry, I just got really into it." I'm like, Leighton, dude, I don't doubt it. That seems like something you would do.
Who kicks an amp?
He was just running around, or he was just getting into it, and he didn't kick the amp. He was walking, and it was on floor level, and I think his foot just went in, he stepped in it by accident or on it. I don't know, but it still works, I guess. No, by the time I met you, you were the first. I mean, because I met you before I really met Swadley and was influenced to actually play or pick up an instrument.
Okay.
So, and I didn't even really know you that well. You were kind of, just that guy that everybody knew played really good guitar, and you were willing to talk about it. And we talked a lot about this in the other episode. But yeah, you were one of the first ones that was just like, oh yeah, I know that song, and then you'd pick it apart.
Right.
And then you would show people. In the 10 minutes we had before.
It's all right, it's 5 riffs.
Yeah.
Here's riff 1, here's riff 2. I'm gonna get this screen door here. Can't get the grenades off in time. We're not. Oh, I'm not in.
I don't know if we're too close or not. Okay. Take that, bridge.
That's always been my approach, because it's like, okay, if you try to tear apart, a whole piece, you're gonna get overwhelmed with it.
Yeah, and really, they just want the hook.
Right. That's really, they want to be able to sing, whatever. Semi-tone kind of life or something,
Oh, God. Yeah.
But anyway, I guess Wonderwall is the typical joke, but I did not use that.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it was always Blink-182 and Sublime covers.
Oh, yeah.
It was all the douchebags.
If you didn't know how to play Damn It back then...
I never learned. I didn't care.
I think there might have been...
I could figure it out, I'm sure, but...
So I'm going to come out on the limb here. I'm not a Blink-182 fan.
Neither am I. Neither am I.
I'm not, it's not to say that
I'm not either.
They're good. They're fine. They're great.
I mean, I respect what they do, and I know they have a following, and it's just it's just not my jam.
But I'd be lying to you and everybody else if I said, Damn It wasn't one of the most popular riffs back in that day and age, so you had to know how to play Damn It.
I just knew that there was a lot of like just those douchebag types that would go to like sit in front of the school and just try and woo girls with the same 3 songs. And
I was like, here's a Cradle of Filth riff. Oh yeah, did you hear that riff?
Yeah. No, I was never really focused on like covers in general. I usually had my own stuff.
See, I was the opposite. I was all about learning covers. I wanted to learn how to play like.
There's no shame in it whatsoever. I admire it. That's how you learn.
But
I was picking pieces of Metallica songs. That was pretty much it. Like I never.
Right.
I
learned how to play
anything Hammett was doing. I'm like, how do you do that? I had to dissect.
Hammett still like I don't know.
Yeah.
I think back then I was just half-assing all the stuff I learned from Hammett. Like I knew some of his riffs and some of his solo stuff, but like I never really sit down and picked him apart. Honestly, I picked apart Hetfield like crazy.
Oh really?
Yeah. Hetfield,
You were a Hetfield inspired. That's. I mean, granted, probably one of the most underrated guitarists. I mean, he's incredible, but it's not until like in hindsight that I've known a lot of people that are like, wow, Hetfield's actually really good.
No, Hetfield was like how I learned how to play guitar. Like if it wasn't for James Hetfield, like I wouldn't know half of the shit I know. And then Hetfield turned into Randy Rhoads.
Well,
and then Randy Rhoads turned into Dimebag Darrell.
Right.
So like my influences.
None of these are bad though. They're just
I never wanted to half settle, I never, I didn't, Kurt Cobain had his contribution to guitars, but he's not fucking Randy Rhoads, guys,
I was never I grew up loathing Nirvana. You're right. That's I even made a comic about it, where it's not really Nirvana, it was just Kurt by association.
Right.
In fact, I'll give respect to Nirvana for, being the source of probably one of the greatest things to rock and roll.
Right. They had commercial success in that era where Soundgarden and Pearl Jam hadn't quite broken that barrier.
They were like a year behind.
It wasn't until, Nirvana actually made that scene that Soundgarden and everybody else really got their shine. And dude, Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and Pearl Jam, like those 3 bands,
they're my jam now.
Yeah, that's my shit. Way
I mean, they were doing Temple of the Dog or whatever, but Pearl Jam is my still even like one of my.
I love Tim Thale.
Yeah.
I never knew how to pronounce his name properly, but no, dude, Soundgarden, like that shit too. All of the odd time signatures and all the drop tuning. Like nobody, not a lot of people did the drop tuning and shit.
Alice in Chains was one of the heaviest bands.
Oh yeah, yeah, still are. Man.
Yeah, they are.
Alice in Chains is really heavy. It's just like, damn, guys. I got to.
Have you heard
finally
Lightning Bolt?
I guess I
Pearl Jam's newest. Well, they have a newer one. But Lightning Bolt was their kind of like big album that came out with it like 4 or 5 years ago. And it's incredible. Like it was such a huge comeback album. I love it. They have another one out that came out like a year or so ago. It's good. It's okay.
I have not had an opportunity. Nope.
It's amazing. Hell, Testament's new album is pretty awesome too. I really loved it.
Finally.
I know. I got it pissed me off.
I was like, damn, dude. Like.
No, I'll give Dave Grohl his sainthood is,
Yeah.
But the rest of Nirvana, like. But I think you're right. I think that's a good point. Kurt Cobain by association. I'm just like.
But that was my whole thing. Like I said, like right out of the gate, Hetfield is like the main reason why I know how to play guitar. Like in all honesty.
Which is funny because myself and a few others. Apparently, yeah. Myself and a few others.
Moose.
Kind of gave you credit as like, the closest thing to Kirk Hammett that we will probably meet.
Which is great.
I mean, you had the hair, you had the look, you had the clothes,
right?
You had the chops.
I still get that. I do. But, like, honestly, the only 2 solos of his I ever learned how to play were Fade to Black and One. Those were the only 2 solos by Kirk Hammett I ever learned. And even still to this day, I couldn't play the end of One or the end of... Well, I learned the beginning solos. Let me be honest here. I learned the intro solos to both of those songs, and that's it. Everything else I learned was Hetfield. I wanted to know how to play rhythm guitar. I was never focused on being a shredder. Most of my influences were like melodic players, minus Randy Rhoads. Like Randy Rhoads, he was flashy. He did all the shit.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, like most of my guitar heroes or whatever were more rhythm players. I grew up on a lot of country, a lot of strumming and shit.
Well,
so
no shame. I don't feel lied to, or misdirected.
You're like, what the? What? The whole life is a lie.
No, that's actually
Sorry,
very
guys.
admirable.
That was a great stream. We're going. Bye.
No, I mean, no, that's a very interesting. I'm actually very proud to hear that. That's cool.